Hi everybody, my name is Simone. I'm a PhD Egyptologist from Rome, and this time I want to tell you the story of the great Egyptologists, archaeologists, explorers, adventurers that visited Egypt in the 19th and early 20th century and that literally wrote the history of Egypt or ancient Egypt. Follow me, it's a great adventure, it's a great journey. Now, it's time to talk about the first protagonist. I told you, I'm so proud to introduce you Giovanni Battista Belzoni. He was born in Italy in 1778, and then he decided to look for a fortune in England. Belzoni was a special guy. The Italians are not very high usually, they're not very tall. Belzoni was like more than 6 feet tall, okay? He was a giant, and he was super strong. Imagine that in London, he became like a circus guy. He was a giant. You see him here. This is a video, a movie made about the life of Belzoni. A giant that was able to take 10 people on his body by a special metal structure. So strong, so incredibly strong. So you can say, Simone, what's his why a giant arrived in Egypt and he started exploring the country? Because Belzoni was a very smart man. He was not only a giant, okay? He was not only a circus guy. He was also an engineer. He was an hydraulic engineer. He designed water machines, and he wanted to live and work in a country where people needed this invention. And what's better than Egypt? Egypt, in the middle of the desert, with the Nile, with the water canals that have to reach all the land. In Egypt, they needed engineers. That's why he moved to Alexandria of Egypt in 1815. Now it's time to fly. It's time to use Google Maps. So this is Egypt as it is today. For those those of you that never been there, Egypt is made of a triangle. That's the Nile Delta, and a green line. This is the Nile Valley. Okay, life is possible in the valley and the delta. Here, there's no life. Here, there's no life. It's totally desert. So Egypt is a gift of the Nile, as Herodotus say 2,500 years ago. Without the Nile, Egypt was just desert, like the Libyan desert, like the Sahara desert. But because of the Nile, in Egypt, life is possible. Belzoni arrived to Alexandria. Where is Alexandria? Alexandria is in the northwest part of Egypt. Okay, this is a city created by Alexander the Great 2,300 years ago. Belzoni arrived here. It was the arrival point for all the Europeans, and then by the river canal, you have to reach Cairo, that at that time was the capital of Egypt, as it is the capital of Egypt today. Remember, we are in 1815. Now I'm going to show you pictures of Alexandria today. It's one of the most beautiful cities I visited in my life. For me, it changed my life because we were digging close to Alexandria, and we went to Alexandria for the weekend, and trust me, when you could find that good fish for nothing, it was very cheap. It was the best time ever. You see this incredible Muslim fort that was built on the basement of the famous lighthouse of Alexandria. That was like 140 feet high, and the city is just magnificent. Belzoni was there, and he arrived to Cairo. Obviously, Cairo, as it is today, is a gigantic metropolis of 20 million people. Cairo at that time was very different. It was huge and big, but it was more romantic in some way. You see the mosque of Ibn Tulum, unpronounceable, and Belzoni was there to meet Muhammad Ali. That basically was the political chief of Egypt. This is a picture of a meeting of Muhammad Ali with some Western people. Belzoni showed to Muhammad Ali his water machines. Muhammad Ali said, I'm sorry, I don't need them. Belzoni was shocked. I mean, I traveled from London to Egypt in order to sell you my water machines, and you don't want them? You are not interested in them? The Italian giant was desperate. Why? You are in Egypt, a very dangerous country at that time, a violent country, alone. You don't have any job. You have no money. But Belzoni fell in love with the Egyptian culture, and he decided to explore Egypt much better than he did until that time. And where did he move? Where do you move if you want to find new things? You move to the south. You move to the south, and you discover, it was already discovered, okay, but it was covered by the sand, the most famous temple of Egypt, the temple of Abu Simbel. Now we fly to Abu Simbel, and I'm going to show you the beauty of this magnificent temple built by Ramses II. Now you're going to see it. This is the temple of Abu Simbel. The temple you see today is a new reconstruction made by the UNESCO in 1960, but it's too long to explain now. Just for you to know that this temple was not visible at the time. Look at the height of the temple, at the facade of the temple. This is a person. This is the height of the temple. Imagine that when Belzoni arrived there, the temple was like this. It was totally covered by the sand. taken there by the wind. Can you imagine that they have to uncover? Look at the head of the Ramses, completely covered with sand. They have to remove tons and tons of sand in order to find the entrance to the temple that was here. Okay, this is the entrance. And finally, they were able to enter for the very first time after many millennia the temple of Ramses II in Abu Simbel. And they were able to walk through the main gallery, and they were able to reach the final room, the final shrine, where they were going to find the statue of Ptah, Amon, Ra, and Ramses II himself, one of the four gods. Even if the pharaoh was not exactly divine in ancient Egypt, it doesn't matter. Ramses was represented like together with the other gods in this temple. It's a magnificent place. If you have the opportunity, go to Abu Simbel. Belzoni now became extremely famous. And where did he go? He moved back to Luxor, okay? So to southern Egypt in order to explore the Valley of the Kings. And it's time for me to show you a view, satellite view of the Valley of the Kings. Okay, this is the Valley of the Kings as it is today. You see the canyon, it does like this, right in the middle of the mountain, okay? But if I move the view left, you see the valley, right? So you see the river in the back, you see the valley, so we are not far from the valley. Belzoni was very lucky. He started exploring the bottom of the valley, and at a certain point, he was able to find this entrance. This one here, the entrance to the tomb of the father of Ramses II. So Belzoni was very lucky. He found the temple of Ramses II in Abu Simbel and the tomb of the father of Ramses II, Seti I. The father of Ramses has been a great pharaoh. His tomb is by far the longest tomb of the Valley of the Kings, much more beautiful than the tomb of Tutankhamun. I've been there many times, and I'm in love with that tomb. You see Belzoni, this is a movie, as I told you, that enters the tomb for the very first time, and he started exploring this incredible 400 feet long gallery with his torches and looking at the colors, making copies of the colors and the sketches of the tomb. This is a map of the tomb. You have to enter this tunnel, and he arrived here when he had a problem. There was a pit. The pit was to stop the thieves and to take the water down in order not to flood the tomb. But sometimes it rains over there, so they have to be able to have the water not filling the tomb. But Belzoni was able to jump the pit, and he was able to enter the burial chamber. The burial chamber was empty, okay? There was only one thing, the sarcophagus of Seti I, made of alabaster, that was sold in London to Mr. Swan. There was a billionaire of that time. Today, if you want to see it, you have to go to the Swan Museum in London. You can see the sarcophagus found by Belzoni. And then Belzoni decided to go back to Cairo in order to explore the Great Pyramids of Giza. I'm sure that all of you remember the Pyramids of Giza. There are three, okay? We have Khafre, we have Cheope here, Khafre, and Menkaura here, that's the smallest one. There is a problem. People knew how to enter the Pyramid of Cheope and the Pyramid of Menkaura. They didn't know how to enter the Pyramid of Khafre. At that time, they start thinking that there wasn't any entrance. It was a full pyramid and there wasn't any entrance. Belzoni went there and he started exploring and looking at the tomb, and exactly here, he was able to find the entrance to the pyramid, okay? And he was able to enter the burial chamber of the pharaoh Khafre, and he was so, Khafre, and he was so excited that he decided to write his name on the wall of the burial chamber. This is the original signature graffiti written by Belzoni. The tomb was discovered, scoperta in Italian, by Giovanni Belzoni on March the 2nd, 1818, okay, 200 years ago. So Belzoni now was by far the most famous man ever, because he found the temple of Abu Simbel, the tomb of Seti I, the entrance to the pyramid of Khafre. What a great life. I'm so jealous of this guy. Obviously, he was not a real Egyptologist or archaeologist. He was an explorer. He was a pioneer. He was an adventurer. He was a man that was looking for adrenaline. But on the other hand, he became so extremely famous. He went back to London and he organized in Piccadilly. Look, they remade the facade of Piccadilly like an Egyptian temple, and he made an exhibition about the tomb of Seti, remaking all the paintings of the tomb into the exhibition. He was invited by the Tsar of Russia. He was invited in Germany. He was invited in Italy. He met the Pope in Rome. So Belzoni was a superhero. He died in 1823, so a few years later, in Nigeria, while he was exploring the watercourse of the Guato River. Belzoni became a legend. Before he died, he said, "I'm sure that in the Valley of the Kings, there isn't any other tomb to be found." And it was 1823.